Good morning, beloveds. It was a good workout today. It was interesting to watch that occasionally he would have my husband and I do the same weight, and occasionally I would whine and he would let me take my weight down a little bit. And one time it was working really well for me, and then he had to add weight for my husband. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I've been working with him for almost 3 years now, and my husband's a month in. So, but yeah. And then I come home and scrub my hair really quick. So, today is March 10th, and our title is Divine Patterns. There is a divine pattern for humanity, and within this pattern, there is a variation that individualizes each of us. This is why the Bible says that we should act in accordance with the pattern shown us on the mount, a symbol of high consciousness. When we lift our thoughts above the confusion of the material world, we become aware of the spiritual cause behind all things. There is no idle statement to affirm the perfection of God as the center of all things, manifesting in and through each and every living thing in a unique way. We should spend more time meditating upon the harmony, the beauty, the peace, and the joy that exists at the center of our own being. We cannot believe that our inner wholeness was created by us or came into being through a process of evolution. Quite the reverse. All evolution is the result of the action of an imprisoned splendor that exists at the center of all things. Today, I seek the divine pattern at the center of my own being, affirming its reality. I permit its essence to flow through me, claiming it as my own. I embrace it. Believing in its beauty, I sense its harmony. Accepting its peace, I am calm. Living in its love, I am unified with life. Believing in its power with childlike faith, I accept the authority of its action in my everyday affairs. And looking at the God in humankind, I see everyone in the pattern of God's perfection. I see God's image and likeness. And there are diversities of operations, but it is the same God which worketh in all in all. And that is from 1 Corinthians 12:6. And I don't know. I don't know. I kind of have that. I think I was thrown by his word of he used imprisoned. Which is a very Gnostic idea. If you go back and look at the Gnostics, it may be from the Kabbalah, which is actually also pronounced Kibbalah, but that initially when the divine, and we can use the word divine pattern, moved from the idea into form, the original container wasn't strong enough and it shattered. And it sent divine splinters, divine sparks. They use another word and I can't remember it right now. Throughout the material world, and they are trapped. And so the goal of each being is to free the divine spark, the divine splinter, to release it back into. And once that's done, then existence, I don't know what other word to use, will be healed. And then all of the messiness that we deal with in the material world will it won't happen anymore because the divine container will have been, I hesitate to use the word remade. It was only a 10-week class, and it's so much, but, and I don't know. It's a beautiful idea, but the fact that the divine, I don't believe that the divine is trapped. I don't. I believe that, nor do I believe that it's imprisoned. I believe that the divine comes into material form for a purpose, and that purpose, and I'm not going to get into grandiose purposes, the purpose is to experience, to have experiences. That's why we're here. Whatever it is that we choose to do or not do, we don't have some grand, glorious design. We're here to live. We're here to experience, and we're here to be, not to do, but to be. And whatever comes out of that is what is. Okay. But that's not what he's talking about. It just struck me. So divine patterns, that's what we talk about. We talk about patterns over personality because one of the more interesting things that religion has done is given God, the divine, a definite personality, which limits spirit. It limits God. It limits the divine, which is why we try to use mind and pattern to avoid limiting the divine any more than we're going to, because in this material form we are limited. We are unlimited beings, but we are having a limited experience just by virtue of the fact that we are encased in matter. So there is a divine pattern for humanity, and within this pattern there is a variation that individualizes each one of us. What's the point of us all being the same? Then we'd all have the same experience, and that just defeats the purpose. This is why the Bible says that we should act in accordance with the pattern shown us on the Mount, a symbol of high consciousness. And that's one of the reasons why so many ministers talk about that place in the center of our being where nothing has ever been wrong, because that's where the pattern is. The pattern is not messy. The pattern is not messy. Dr. Goswami would talk about the bliss body and the bliss body to get to the gross body, and that's just his word for material. Don't take it as gross, disgusting. It's simply material. So there are 3 layers between the bliss body and the material body, and things get scrambled in translation. So we go back to that place. We go back to that bliss body. We go back to that place at the center of our own being, where that divine spark or that divine splinter, where that divine pattern is, for a look at the picture on the box. And then we come back to our life and go, okay, so it's close, but here are things that I could tweak. I'm not going to say fix. I'm going to say tweak. Because if your life is good, then there's nothing to fix. But there are things that you could tweak to make it better. Now, if your life's a mess, which we all have those days, there are things that you could fix. But there are also things that you could tweak. So it's what you're doing isn't necessarily wrong. And if you're happy, you're happy. Good for you. Okay, when we lift our thought above the confusion of the material world, we become aware of the spiritual cause behind all things. That divine spark, that divine pattern. We recognize the pattern. We recognize the divine spark in each of us. It is no idle statement to affirm the perfection of God as the center of all things, manifesting in and through each and everything. He didn't say one, he said thing. Everything in existence, be it living or animate or inanimate. We'll use those words. So manifesting in and through each and everything in a unique way. We should spend more time meditating upon the harmony, the beauty, the peace, and the joy that exist at the center of our own being. And if you think, and here's where I'm going to say you're wrong, if you think you don't have that at the center of your being, you're wrong. You do. Because you have that God spark, that spirit spark, that divine spark within you. It's not out there. I mean, it is out there. It is, because everything is. But if you want to meet it on a personal level, it's right there within you. We cannot believe that our inner wholeness was created by us or came into being through a process of evolution. All right, that's pretty in your face for Ernest. He's not usually that in your face. Okay, we didn't create it. That's what he's saying. We didn't create it. It was a gift to us. And not through evolution, although our ability to access it has changed with evolution. You do see cats meditate. They meditate all the time. I love to walk into the kitchen and see Sugar sitting in the sunlight. And she's sitting primly. She's got 4 feet. She's got her tail curled around her feet. And she's got her head tilted just slightly back and her eyes closed. Or mostly closed. In the sunshine. She's meditating. What is she meditating on? I have no idea. I think she's solar powered. But, so I want to believe that she is connecting with her divine spark. Right then, right there. And then, she goes back to being a cat. I could learn a lesson from that cat. So I think evolution has given us more in different ways to connect with that. I think if you watch your dog, you'll see your dog do the same thing. Quite the reverse. All evolution is the result of the action of an imprisoned splendor that it exists at the center of all things. I don't know. The idea of imprisoned splendor. I mean, outside of the fact that it can't get out. It's that spark that makes us us. Okay. Every now and again I disagree with Ernest. I don't like the word imprisoned splendor. Because I think it's a gift. I think that splendor at the center of our being is a gift. Today, I seek the divine pattern at the center of my own being. Affirming its reality, I permit the essence to flow through me. Okay? So I affirm that the divine pattern exists, that place within me, that God place, that God space exists within me, and I permit the essence of it to flow through me, which means that I consciously take that essence into my words, into my actions, into my thoughts, into my deeds. And the more I do it consciously, the more it will filter through unconsciously. Claiming it as my very own, I embrace it. Again, consciously. Believing in its beauty, I sense its harmony. Accepting its peace, I am calm. Living in its love, I am unified with life. Believing in its power with childlike faith, I accept the authority of its action in my everyday affairs. So every one of those statements is saying, it exists, it exists, it exists. I accept, I accept, I accept. He keeps using different words, but each one of those is, this is a reality, and this is a reality with a capital R. And I am consciously connecting with this. That's he's just saying it a different way. He's saying it 100 different ways. Not really. Like 7 maybe. And looking at the God in humankind, I see in everyone the pattern of God's perfection. I see God's image and likeness. This is that exercise that I'm talking about. And honestly, if you had heartfelt living, it's one of the things that we do, where we look in each other's eyes and we see God looking back at us. That's the reason why I suggest it. I suggest going and looking in the mirror and seeing God looking back at you. And I suggest when you interact with people that you know and people that you don't know yet, seeing God looking back at you, because it will change the way you interact with them. And when you change the way you interact with them, it will change the way they interact with you. I mean, it can't help it. So Ernest is asking us to see the pattern of God in every being that we meet. And he's not limiting it just to humans. I believe that he would look at the four-leggeds with fur running around in our house and say, see God looking back at you through their eyes. Go outside and see the birds and see that image of God. Because the truth is that image of God is everything. And it's mind-blowing. And it will change the way you interact with things and people and animals, and to see the divine spark in absolutely everything. It asks you to be more loving and gentle with life. So, I mean, that's the mission today. The mission, should we choose to accept it, really is to see the divine pattern in absolutely every one and thing. Because he said it early on. It is no idle statement to affirm the perfection of God as the center of all things, manifesting in and through each and everything in a unique way. He said each and everything. Each and every one, but each and everything. So everything is the wholeness of God. It's like Rumi says that a single drop of the ocean contains the entire ocean. And that's the way it is with us. So we contain that divine. And it makes us part of a greater whole. And when we can see it in ourselves, and we can see it in each other, and we can see it all around us, then we step more lightly through the world. We step with that kindness, that compassion, that lovingness that I'm always talking about. But it is about being willing to recognize that divine pattern, that divine spark, that divine splinter in absolutely everything. It's not a small mission, but it is a mission that, if you choose to accept it, will change your life. Okay, so, I'm going to move into the process of my day because I've already been up, been for a workout, grabbed a shower, and now I get to go to work. So I hope that you are setting yourself up for as good of a day as I have done. But as always, I do encourage you, do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever it looks like to you, whatever it is that you need today to be loving, kind, and compassionate for yourself. Because the more you practice on yourself, the more you will have to share with the world. And today, I think, at least here in Texas, there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to need a little extra kindness and compassion today. So, I encourage you to open your windows. If you're here. I mean, if you're further north, maybe not, because it's beautiful here. Get some fresh air. Do something to engage your mind and your body. Drink some water. Hydrate. Not so much sun, but, it's cloudy. Do what you need. Take care of yourself. because you're a beloved child of God in whom Spirit is well pleased. That is the state of grace that we live in, always. So open the windows of your soul. Allow that breath of heaven to remind you you do live in heaven now. It is truly about our willingness to open up and see it. And the more we look, the more we see. And the more we see, the more there is. Because we continuously generate it around ourselves. In that meditating, in that place that nothing has ever been wrong. We bring that peace, that joy, that happiness, that love, that kindness, that compassion, that creativity. We bring it back from that place out into the material world. And that is the work we do. All right, beloveds. Do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day for yourself. All right? And know that you are loved.